Welcome to the Lior Cohen podcast, your gateway to reconnecting with your true self and living the life you were meant to live. Each week, we'll embark on a journey of self-discovery, healing, and deep connection with your intuition and inner wisdom. Through guided insights and reflections, you'll expand your consciousness, gain clarity on what's holding you back, and awaken to your passion and purpose. Get ready to break free from limitations and step into a life of creativity, abundance, joy, and inner peace.
Welcome back to another episode of our podcast. Today is our second conversation, and we're diving into the world of mindfulness and meditation. Joining us is Lior Cohen, a wellness coach and a guided meditation facilitator. Lior specialized in helping individuals find calm, gain clarity, and reconnect with themselves through mindfulness, meditation, and breathing practices. Get ready for an insightful discussion on how these practices can transform your life. Lior, it's so great to have you here again.
Thank you, Hila. I'm really excited to be here and to continue this conversation. Mindfulness is such a powerful tool, and I love sharing ways people can incorporate it into their daily lives.
Absolutely. And just to clarify to our listeners, when we talk about mindfulness, we also refer to mindfulness meditation, right?
Exactly. There are so many forms of meditation, but what we practiced at the end of our last episode was mindfulness meditation specifically. Mindfulness is a state of awareness, a way of being fully present in the moment. Meditation is one of the most effective ways to cultivate that awareness. While our discussion goes beyond just meditation, it remains the core practice that helps develop mindfulness as a skill.
So, what do you say mindfulness is like a mental fitness program?
That's a great way to put it. Just like we train our bodies through exercise, mindfulness is like a training the mind. It strengthens our ability to stay present, manage stress, and cultivate emotional balance.
I love that analogy. A mindfulness fitness program. Just like a workout series, but for the mind. And speaking of practice, at the end of our last session, you guided us through a meditation exercise. Today, I'd love to reflect on that experience. For those tuning in for the first time, don't worry, we'll go over some key points from our previous conversation. But if you want the full experience, I encourage you to check out our first episode as well.
Yes, and more importantly, I encourage everyone to continue practicing. Mindfulness is not just about listening, it's about experiencing. The more practice, the more we benefit.
That brings me to what I personally felt during the last meditation. Right after we finished, I remember opening my microphone, but I needed a moment. I felt like I had to regain my ability to speak. It was as if there was this temporary sense of disconnection, or maybe deep connection. I'm not even sure how to describe it.
That's such a common experience, and I love how you put it together. It's like you shifted into a different state of awareness. And I noticed you were quick to reassure me that you lost my voice, not because I did something wrong. I want to tell you the same. You did not do anything wrong either. That's actually the whole point of mindfulness.
How so?
Well, mindfulness is about observing what is happening in the present moment without judgment. What you experienced was your awareness shifting. At first, you were fully engaged, you were listening to my voice, following the guidance. Then at some point, your mind wandered. That's completely natural. It's actually part of the process.
So it wasn't that I failed, it was just part of how the mind works.
That's right. Think of it like walking a dog on a leash. At first, the dog is right next to you, listening, following, but eventually the dog gets curious. He wants to explore, sniff around, maybe even run off. The same thing happened with our attention. And just like training a dog, mindfulness is about gently bringing it back over and over again without frustration or judgment.
That's such a great analogy. So, in meditation, when my mind wandered, I wasn't failing. I was just noticing my natural tendency to get distracted. And the practice is bringing my focus back to the present moment.
Exactly. Every time you notice your mind wandering and gently bring it back to the present moment, you're training the mindfulness muscle. That's where the real growth happens.
That makes so much sense. And I love the concept that it's not about perfect focus, it's about coming back to the present moment. This is such an important insight for anyone new to the meditation. Lior, this is such a fascinating conversation, and I can't wait to continue exploring more aspects of mindfulness with you. For those listening, stay with us. There is so much more to come. Lior, when it comes to meditation and mindfulness, I think a lot of people struggle with the concept that the mind keeps drifting. It takes patience and a lot of repetitions. Would you say meditation is a bit of an endless journey, constantly bringing the mind back again and again?
Absolutely. The mind wanders, it gets lost, and sometimes it feels like we're sailing through fog, where the destination is only visible in brief flashes. I have seen it happening on my own session. People sometimes stop hearing my voice altogether, and honestly, it's happened to me too. There are moments when you drift off, not necessarily asleep, but into a kind of twilight state between wakefulness and dreaming. And when you notice, there's often this inner voice that says, "You messed up. You weren't focused. You got lost." The voice of self criticism kicks in hard.
That's such an important point because in the West, we tend to be incredibly self critical. More than just observing our experience, we judge it. I'm not doing it right. I should be more focused. It's exhausting.
Exactly. And mindfulness has the power to loosen that grip. Falling asleep during meditation is not a failure, it's simply your body doing what it used to do, what it needs right now. We are all tired creatures, and when you close your eyes in quiet space, your nervous system sometimes takes that as an invitation to rest. That's absolutely normal. I once heard a meditation teacher say, when students complain about falling asleep during meditation, the best advice is simple. Try sleeping more at night. It's not about fighting reality, it's about meeting it with patience.
That's a completely different mindset than what most of us are used to. Instead of battling with the mind, we meet it where it is.
Right. If you wake up in the middle of meditation and notice, I just drifted off, that's actually a moment of mindfulness. The moment before that, not so much, but the instant you become aware of it, you're present. The goal isn't to have a perfect, uninterrupted meditation. It's about returning to the present moment again and again. And the same goes for self criticism. If you notice that the voice saying, "Oh, you're not doing this right," instead of getting lost in it, you can step back and recognize it. Oh, that's just self criticism showing up.
And that recognition, stepping outside of the thought, is where the transformation begins.
Yes, absolutely. That's metacognition. Observing the mind rather than getting caught in the stories. Instead of thinking, I failed because I got distracted, you can recognize, look, my mind wandered. That's what the mind do. Because let's be honest, most of us have a lot of noise in our head. Thought come, they repeat, they loop. That's just how the mind works. The practice isn't about stopping thought altogether. That's impossible. It's about seeing them for what they are and choosing not to be consumed by them.
So instead of trying to force silence, we develop a softer, more accepting approach to ourselves.
Exactly. If you recognize that your mind wanders, great, keep going. If you catch yourself being critical, no problem, keep going. We meet everything that arises with the same gentle awareness. And that's where real transformation happens.
Absolutely. Let's start with a simple but powerful concept: control. We often believe that we should be able to control our thoughts. But in reality, is that even possible?
No, it's not. Just like you cannot stop the rain from falling, you cannot control every thought that enter your mind. Imagine if I asked you to stop the rain outside. Could you? Of course not. But we don't blame ourselves for that. Yet, when we have unwanted thought come back again, we get frustrated because we accept to have control over it.
That's such a great point. So, if we can't control our thoughts, what can we do?
Well, we can control how we respond to them. This is where training comes in. It's about recognizing that thought will come and go, and our job is not to fight them, but to decide whether we engage with them. One way to think about it is like a knock on the door. A thought arrives, knocks, and you get to decide whether or not to open the door.
I love that metaphor. So, it's about acknowledging the thought, but not necessarily inviting it in.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. Many people believe that if an unwanted thought keeps returning, they are failing at mindfulness. But that's not the truth. Thought follow their usual patterns, and sometimes we need to let go of the same thought hundred or even thousand of times. That's simply part of the practice.
So, it's really about developing a mental muscle, just like we train our physical muscles.
Yes, right now, most of us have a weak mental muscle when it comes to directing our attention. Our minds get easily pulled into thoughts, especially negative or intrusive ones. But with practice, we can strengthen our ability to shift focus.
That makes sense. But what about the thoughts that feel really urgent? The ones that say, just listen to me for a second. This is important.
That's the trickiest part. Some thoughts try to convince us that they need immediate attention, but the practice is about resisting the urge to engage. You don't have to push the thought away, just don't start a conversation with it.
So it's kind of like of annoying classmates who keep bugging you. If you urge or give them attention, they'll keep coming back. But if you ignore them, eventually they'll move on.
That's right. Thought need a partner to stay active. If we don't engage, they lose power. We can't control when thoughts appear, but we can control how much energy we give them.
That's such an insightful perspective. Rather than struggling to stop thoughts, we shift our focus to where we direct our attention.
Yes, and one way to think about it, it's like a flashlight. We don't control what shows up in the dark, but we do control where we shine the light. If we keep shining on unwanted thought, it stays in focus. But if we redirect it towards the present moment, toward our breath, our body will shift away from the thought's grip.
I love that. It's such a practical tool for anyone struggling with intrusive thoughts.
It really is. And that's what today practice is all about. Learning to shift our focus. Let's dive into the next step.
So, today we're going to dive into a guided mindfulness experience, bringing ourselves fully into the present moment.
Let's get started. Find a quiet place without any distractions where you can sit or lay down, whichever feels most comfortable for your body. Get yourself comfortable, feel supported, and close your eyelids. Bring your attention to your breath, in and out through your nose. Feel the rising and falling of the breath. Allow whatever has been happening, not happening, or which were happening to drift into the background. Right now, these minutes are just for you. Drop down to your bottom ribs. Feel them flare out on the in-breath and contract in on the out-breath. With this focus on the breath, ribs flowing out on the in-breath, contracting in on the out-breath. Slowing down your breathing. Take a deep breath, holding at the top for a second or two, and on a longer exhalation, let everything go. Do this a few more times, taking longer breath in, holding at the top for a second or two, and as you exhale, slowly feel your body letting go. As you bring this meditation to a close, point and flex your feet. Rotate your ankles. Travel up your legs into the body, up and across your shoulders, and down your arms, and into your hands as you open and close them. And traveling up into your throat, to your jaw. As the edges of your mouth lift up. And now, bring your attention to the rest behind your eyelids. On your next exhalation, your eyes open slowly. A smile washes across your face, the message of peace and gratitude for this time.
I love that. It's such a gentle reminder that mindfulness isn't about getting it right. It's simply about returning to the breathing over and over again.
Exactly. And it's so natural for the mind to wander. The key is to return to the present moment without frustration, just with ease. Every inhale, every exhale is an opportunity to reset.
That's really powerful. And for those listening, if you ever feel overwhelmed or distracted, just start with your breathing. There are no struggle here. Just come back to the present moment.
Yes, and this practice is not about achieving anything, it's about being with what is. Each moment is a new beginning, an opportunity to notice what's happening without judgment. If it feels like we're starting over and over again, that's a practice.
That's such an important message. And I think sometimes people wonder, can this be done anywhere?
Absolutely. You can practice in so many settings at home, in a park, even at work. The only exception is avoid practicing while driving or doing something that requires full attention. But otherwise, even just 10 minutes a day can make a difference. Think of it as a call from yourself to check in. Would you pick up the call?
That's a great way to put it. We always make time for others, but do we make time for ourselves?
Exactly. Mindfulness is a gift of self care. It doesn't have to be complicated. It's just about being here right now.
I love that. And I hope our listeners take this as an invitation to give themselves that gift. If you missed our first episode, be sure to check the link in the podcast description. If you want to learn more about Lior's work, please check his website, liorcohen.coach.
Thank you, Ila. Always a pleasure. I will post a link to my website in the podcast description.
We'll be back with another episode soon. Until then, breathe, be present, and take care. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Lior Cohen podcast, your gateway to reconnecting with your true self and living the life you were meant to live. Join us every week for a new episode filled with insights and practical tools to help you grow, heal, and step into the best version of yourself. Until next time, stay present and keep trusting your inner wisdom.